Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pinch to Zoom podcast. I'm Stetson.
And I'm Gabe.
And this is our 25th episode. Pretty big milestone for us.
Yeah, we would have, some big sound effects or, some huge celebration here if we had a budget, but we don't have it. So I guess on the count of three, let's just say yay. 1, 2, 3. Yay!
Woohoo!
Okay, that was our celebration.
That was it. In this episode, we are talking about what we've learned after 25 episodes of podcasting, our tips, tricks, and secrets for starting your own podcast, or just key takeaways that we've learned along our journey.
Yeah, but before we get into that, we got a lot of other stuff. That's kind of the tail end of this episode. First off, we're going to have our quick news. Then we're going to have a pitch me the cons. It's going to be a fun episode. We're making it fun because it's 25. Finally getting back to some form of regularity or, last episode was just a hectic mess of Techtoberness just thrown up all over an episode.
Gabe, you really took off on your trip at a ill-timed. Techtober was in full swing. You came back. We just had a spattering of news. This week, it seems a little bit more toned down in the quick news department. Hopefully, we can return that segment to its proper name, Quick News.
Yeah, so without further ado,
let's dive into it.
It's quick news. All right, first off, I'm gonna just sit back for this one a little bit. This is in your wheelhouse. This is right up your alley. Your YouTube channel is all about cell phone plans, and now we have Verizon and AT&T introducing some new cell phone plans. Is that correct?
That is correct. And basically, here's what happened. Verizon introduced 4 new unlimited plans. They dropped the price by $5 pretty much across the board. They increased the amount of priority data, and they added some special perks. So you can now get Apple Music included with a couple of their plans. I think the bottom line here is Verizon has a plan called the Do More Unlimited plan. I think that's probably going to be a good option. $80 a month for unlimited, or the Play More Unlimited plan. Also $80 a month for unlimited, but this one includes a free Apple Music subscription. If you're a Verizon customer, I would recommend checking those out. Of course, you could also consider going with another provider. And then AT&T similarly updated their plans kind of to match Verizon and what they're doing. So they dropped their prices similarly by about $5 across the board. Their unlimited plan starts now at $65 per month. And they also increased the amount of priority data, shuffled some things around. These are expensive though, pretty much starting at $75 per month for a true unlimited plan. And I guess it can be good. Some AT&T customers are reporting that AT&T is increasing their price by $10 with these new plans and giving them 15 gigs of additional data. But AT&T customers are a little dissatisfied with that.
That's what I was going to ask actually, is people who are on, Verizon or AT&T, are they going to be grandfathered in and their old plans will carry over till they, update new phone or something like that? Or do they just get shifted over to the new plans?
Typically, you are grandfathered in. I think AT&T is doing something different and kind of switching people's plans based on what they had, and unfortunately increasing the price. I actually saw one person on Reddit who was happy to leave AT&T for Comcast. Their experience with AT&T was so bad.
Wow, that's pretty rare, and that's pretty hard to push someone into that sort of position, in opinion. So, not so good news from AT&T. Which one do you think made better improvements to their overall plans?
I think Verizon made better improvements. They included Apple Music, which I think is going to be a big win for a lot of people.
How much of a value is it? Apple Music is a yearly subscription, right?
That's $10 a month. So
that's, yes, $60, no, $120 a year.
Yeah, that's a pretty good value add for their plans. And I think Verizon is the number one network in terms of users right now. I think this could be a big win for a lot of people. But again, it really does come down to what your needs are and what kind of coverage you're looking for.
And they both still have plans that aren't unlimited, right? Or no, did they get rid of those?
This is correct. Really, if you're looking at other options, I would recommend going with AT&T prepaid or Verizon prepaid. Those are going to give you much better value for your dollar than going with one of their previous family plans or something like that. But it's nice to see some fresh changes in the industry. And if you think about it, unlimited plans are really making a comeback. When T-Mobile introduced their T-Mobile One, their One unlimited plan, that was the start of a new wave of confusingly named and very similar unlimited plans across the industry. But I think it's good we now have unlimited data, and these plans are definitely improvements, even if not by much.
Okay, so that is that. Hopefully people kind of can understand that. Will you be putting a video out on this or something similar to this on your channel ever?
I recently reviewed Verizon, actually, so I talked about my experience using their network, their new unlimited plans, and even some of the best alternative plans, so you can check that out if you're interested in additional content on cell phone plans. I get excited about this. I know it's maybe not for everyone, but check out the channel for more details.
Yeah, so if they want a deeper dive, head over to Stetson's channel, or I think your website, bestcellphoneplans.net. Bestphoneplans.net. Oh gosh, I just plugged some competitor. I'm so sorry.
Probably is a competitor.
Yeah, moving on. The next thing we have is the Skydio 2 drone, which is a very exciting drone announced, I think it was back beginning of October. We just got a bit of an update and also some bad and good news basically coming out about this. The Mavic Mini just was released, right?
That's correct. This is DJI's newest drone, under 250 grams, coming in at 249 grams. How is this impacting the Skydio 2? Did everyone just say, oh, forget that, let's go with DJI? Do they even have a chance as a drone company anymore?
Well, you would have thought that kind of that might happen, and I think DJI might have been hoping for that. I know they definitely did that back in 2016 when they released the Mavic Pro, the original one. They absolutely killed the Karma drone by GoPro, which had been dropped 2 weeks earlier. And they might have been hoping for that. I don't think that's the case with this drone, however, because the Mavic Mini is definitely more consumer-oriented. The Skydio 2 is more prosumer. And actually, the surprising thing we saw is the CEO of Skydio said that the pre-reservation or reserve your spot to order this drones on their website, the reservation rate went up when the Mavic Mini was released, apparently because a lot of people might have been hoping for a more professional drone from DJI, and once they saw the Mavic Mini, said, okay, I guess the Skydio 2 is the drone I'm going to get this year.
That's exciting. And you're getting one, right?
Hopefully I'm in line for one. The thing we've been seeing, though, is even though they're announcing their ship date is still on schedule for mid-November, it looks like if you're actually going to reserve yours now and put down that refundable $100 deposit, you might not be getting your drone till Q2 of 2020.
Wow, that's a long delay. Wow.
Yeah, that's Q1 is till March, right? February, first 3 months. So you're looking at April, May, or June for a drone. And who knows by then, I think we're going to see the Mavic 3 out by then. So
that's kind of putting a wrench, in my opinion, in the Skydio 2 timeline. So many people are...
Granted, though, you can reserve yours for $100, get your refund on that if you don't want it.
I think that's what people are going to be doing. They're going to reserve it now, and when they don't get it and the Mavic 3 comes out, boom, they'll just pull their plug and go right back to DJI.
That's unfortunately might be the case. It will be interesting to see, though, if you're reserving yours now, as people start to pull, their spots in the line, you might drop a little sooner, and you could actually get yours earlier. But yeah, it still looks like a very exciting drone. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Possibly give it to some friends who have never flown drones and see if they can crash it, or see if they can not crash it.
They won't even be flying it, right? It'll fly itself.
Well, basically, if you push the stick forward and you're flying at a building, it will just avoid the building, go up, around, fly around trees. Why do they should just have, just forward and backwards. That's all they need.
I guess it's true.
Yeah.
Speaking of electric toys, I think that's a pretty good segue into something big that's coming out.
Yeah,
right?
Well, little more than a toy, but...
It's a vehicle. It's the Tesla truck.
Yeah, the Tesla truck has been a bit of a mythical beast, a bit like the A7S III, but not quite as elusive, It's been out there hiding and getting little, Elon Musk will give a little glimpse of it here and then. And now we actually have a date set for November 21st. That's soon.
Is this the ship date? Is this the...
Oh, yeah. No, it's Stetson. Dream on. No, this is, of course, the announcement, the big keynote style thing. Tesla traditionally does these, later in the evening, possibly like 8 or 9 p.m. So that's likely when it will be. We'll probably see invites going out this week, and we'll know a bit more. But yeah, there's, not much is actually known about this drone. And Elon Musk came out on Twitter the previous week and said basically no one has got it right with any of the conceptual renders and stuff like that.
That's amazing. I kind of love that. In my opinion, Tesla is one of the few companies where there are still genuine surprises at their keynote events.
That is really true. I mean, it harkens back to when, Apple went and one more thing and, dropped the Apple Watch. The iPad, I think, is what they dropped when they originally did the one more thing.
Yeah, you're right. That was really fun.
This is very exciting. I would agree. The only, just here's some little rumors I'll give, which who knows where they're going to land. First thing is that they're trying to get it under 50,000 starting. I don't think this is going to be very possible, especially, they tried to get it under 35 with the, the Model Model 3. So that didn't really work. So this, I doubt, is going to be under 50,000, especially considering most pickup trucks just are averaging, starting prices around 44, 45,000. So I expect it'll be more expensive. Second thing, they're going for 400 to 500 miles or more on a battery.
That is insane. That's huge range. That's basically pushing up to their Tesla Roadster 2. That's rumored to have pretty huge range as well.
That is, I think, what people are skeptical about is they're looking at, the ranges of their other cars, and this is a bigger car, so yes, it has more space, under the bed for putting batteries, but it's also, the truck is bigger, so it's going to take more juice to power it.
I think a big plus of an electric truck, and the Ford F-150 is basically the number one car in America right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And so a big perk of going with an electric truck is the instant torque and just the performance that electric vehicles provide. So I think it could be a really interesting and compelling vehicle. I'm excited to see what Tesla and Elon Musk unveils on November 21st.
The big thing, I think, also is going to be when are they shipping it? It's going to be basically price, range, when is it being shipped?
And then when is it actually going to be shipped?
Yeah, and then how much is it actually going to cost?
Right.
And then how much is the range actually going to be, right? Because there's always, they start at this, and then there's the premium add-ons. The interesting thing I just want to add about this is you might be like, why are they doing it in November? Elon Musk has a big affinity for Blade Runner. And if you've seen the original Blade Runner, it actually takes place in November 2019. And Elon has been quoted as saying that this truck looks like it is straight out of Blade Runner in its design. So he said, hey, why don't we launch it in November 2019, bring it right home? I like companies like this that, really have, you really only get it when they have a big CEO that's like a, really, what's the word? Kind of like enigmatic.
He's unique.
Or unique. Yeah, just stand out, have a nice character. That's the only companies that are going to have stuff like this happening, for better or worse. So, yeah, keep that on your radar. Mark your date. They do live stream it, so check it out or just watch the wrap-up videos later.
And Gabe, it looks like we had another camera release. I feel like we've talked about a camera release on every episode of the podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I love cameras. You love cameras. We all love cameras. Yeah, well... some people don't, I'm guessing, but if they don't, I'm not gonna assume that they're listening to this podcast. So anyways, the first thing we got here, and the only camera this episode, is the Canon EOS Ra.
Ooh, that's a swing and a miss for you, Gabe. The Sony A7S III continues to be elusive.
Okay, all right, we've already brought that up once this episode. Let's not bring it up again. The EOS Ra, now that sounds like an EOS R, right? Yeah.
Ra.
And then the A, it's like, what could that be? Is that for...
Is it better? Is it like a Pro? Is the A the new Pro?
No, I think it's for amateur, right?
Aperture?
No, the A is for astrophotography. This is dedicated...
that's actually cool.
Yeah, right? It's aimed squarely at the Milky Way of astrophotographers sitting out there. people who like to go out at night and either freeze themselves off or be all alone in the dark middle of some random state park or whatever, taking photos of the night sky. This is for you. It's a 30 megapixel sensor, comes in at $2,500. And the big difference between this and the EOS R is the fact that this actually has a filter built in that filters out H-alpha rays, which I'm not going to go into it much, but basically the long short of this is that it's going to make your pictures clearer of the stars because it's going to get rid of all the light pollution that isn't the stars, essentially.
Amazing. I do not take astrophotography pictures on quite that level to need this camera, but I think that's a unique take, especially as we've been seeing phones with new low light modes and astrophotography modes. It makes sense this would make its way into proper mirrorless cameras.
Well, I would say that I wish Canon had gone for come on, Canon, let's go either a high-res, EOS R, or let's go a professional filmmaking aimed EOS R. Why didn't they go with some other variation of this? I like that, they have the EOS R, they have the EOS RP. All right, you have your budget version, you have your regular version. Now go with something else other than the super specialized astrophotography camera. I was a bit of a letdown, but it's cool.
We'll get an RF, one for film.
For film, yeah. Or would they go RV for video?
For a van. RV.
For van. Yeah.
Canon's driving around now.
They'll probably go RF, you're right. So that's something to check out if you're into taking pictures of stars and not celebrities. That, got you right there, right? No,
boom.
That was bad. Moving on in quick news.
Quick news.
Wow, what was that? You were phoning this in 25 episodes in, you haven't caught on.
It was something exciting and unexpected, which is what we saw with this next quick news item. Because something exciting and unexpected, Apple's new Mac Pro was either accidentally revealed or teased in an Instagram story from Calvin Harris.
Okay, so for people who don't know, let me break that down. Instagram story, social media platform, and Snapchat ripoff. Okay, moving on. Calvin Harris, DJ. I think he's Swedish actually, but he's a popular music producer of house, EDM, electro music. Very popular. You've probably heard his hits on the radio. Next thing, Mac Pro, thing that Stetson is lusting over for the past probably month. Actually, no, that's been 4 months now.
Yeah,
and
it's
also
been a while.
Part-time cheese grater. I think that's pretty much it. Moving on, right? No.
Yeah, that's everything you need to know.
Yeah. Basically, though, check it out on some stories online with the pictures. And it's not really much news because we've already seen pictures of the Mac Pro. Apple released them themselves. But what is interesting is it shows that it's, I would say out in the wild, but this isn't really out in the wild. It's out in a controlled environment, which Apple has given this computer to this very famous, well-known creative person, likely for him to use it, make a song on it, or talk about his use. Maybe they make a short film showcasing it when they release it, and to also get some feedback from him.
I think this is true. It's a way for Apple to get feedback on their devices and to get great marketing content to promote it. This is their $6,000 Pro computer. I'm super hyped for it. And I think this just means it's closer to release because apparently it is coming this fall. So I'm excited for that.
Fall, remember, means up to December 21st.
I hope it's sooner.
That's the key thing. It's very tricky because, for me, fall kind of seems right. I would think mid-November is the end of fall, but not for tech companies. They're going right by the letter of the calendar.
Absolutely. So, all right, what do we have next?
The next thing we have is the fact that some Alexas and some, I think it was the Siri HomePods and the Google smart speakers have found someone found a creative hacking thing. This is honestly, I just saw this in the news, didn't think much about it. Then I came back after you pointed it out to me and read it. And it was a really interesting way that they found to hack these smart speakers. What was it?
So this is what's called light commands. And basically what these hackers are doing is they're taking lasers, shining them at the speakers the speakers are then interpreting the light waves as sound waves, and this is giving hackers...
Hold on. Not just at the speakers. They're specifically targeting the small microphone on the speakers.
And so this is where it would receive voice commands normally, and it is then interpreting these lasers as silent voice commands, giving hackers basically administrative access to the smart speaker as if you were talking to your speaker, and they can do things like unlock doors, unlock cars that are connected to your network.
Literally anything that your smart speaker could do, which is basically everything.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But at the same time, you do need specialized equipment. You need to be in visual line of sight of the speaker itself and the specific component you need to shine the laser on. So I don't think it's something most people, pretty much everyone, needs to worry about. Gabe, what's your take on seeing something like this?
Oh, I don't think this is a practical, hack at all. I don't think people would have to worry about it. I mean, I'm just looking at like my smart speakers. I think, there's no way that anyone could even see it from it's very unlikely this would ever happen to you, but it is extremely interesting because, sound waves are waves, light waves are also waves, and so they're using the fact that these are both waves to use a light, because microphones are basically a receiver that just when you speak, it absorbs that energy, translates that into electricity. They're using the same thing with light, send it at the microphone, it absorbs that energy just like it's sound, translates it into electricity just like it was sound. And I mean, it's very hats off to these hackers. They turned it in, this hack into Apple or, Google and Amazon. Hopefully they get some money or something for discovering it. But don't worry about it. It's just kind of a cool thing to think about the science behind it. And it kind of gives you an insight into how your smart speaker works.
Yeah, not a whole lot to worry about here. Gabe, do you want to do a not sponsored? Do you have something you're not sponsored by this episode?
I do actually have something I'm not sponsored by. Do you?
I also have something I'm not sponsored by.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Let's get a shot clock going then.
Yeah. Do you want to, it's 25th episode. Do you want to go first or should I go first?
I would be honored to go first.
You'd be honored to go first? Okay. Let me get that shot clock up. For those who don't know, this is our not sponsored segment of the episode. We are not sponsored by anyone, so each week we like to say who we're not sponsored by specifically so that, we can share a bit of what we like, a bit of like unsolicited advice of sorts. Sometimes maybe it's a product, maybe it's, a how-to tip, a lifestyle hack. Who knows? Let's see what we got this week. Stetson, you ready for yours?
I'm ready to be not sponsored.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, starting the timer, go.
This episode of the Pinch to Zoom podcast is not sponsored by LG's 4K ultra-wide monitors. LG makes incredibly sharp, vibrant, color-accurate displays for doing creative work. Enjoy a sharp 4K or even 5K monitor to see all of your content across your screen, boost your productivity, and enjoy consuming media like never before. Check out LG's monitors selection for more details.
That was well done. I think they're going to not pay you, though, because of that media little stumble there. Aldrees, I've never even heard of them, though. Are you making this up?
No, LG.
What'd you say? You said LG?
I tried to. I think it didn't come out of my mouth correctly, and so you may have misheard. Or I may have misspoken, which is more likely of the two.
I heard Aldrees. That is the weirdest thing. I'm going to have to listen back to this episode. I don't know if my headphones are screwed in wrong or something.
I know. I was trying to say LG, but it didn't come out. I think I said it like 2 or 3 times, and it never manifested correctly.
I think you might have said it right, and my brain just was off somewhere on some completely different other planet.
Hearing Aldi's, the grocery store?
The grocery store has a high definition 4K monitor? Oh my God.
You should check that out.
Yeah.
All right, Gabe, let me get a shot clock going.
All right. Get it up. Get the buzzer ready because I might go over. Yes, I am ready.
Well, hopefully you can work on your enunciation. Apparently that's something I'm working on for the rest of this episode.
Aldrees. This one we're sponsored by Aldrees. Okay, I'm good.
On your mark, get set, begin.
I would like to say this episode we're also not sponsored by Brody Butler. Brody Butler is actually an Instagram photographer. Well, he's a photographer who posts on Instagram, and those are a dime a dozen. You might say, Gabe, why are you telling us about this specific account? I really like the behind the scenes that he does of his shoots, shots of models and stuff. He'll show you how he arranges the flashes. So if you're into that sort of stuff, model photography, go check him out. It's BRODIE BUTLER on Instagram. There we go.
That was pretty good. I tried to be more aggressive with my timer buzzers.
I liked it. I appreciate that. It let me know when I was done and when it was time to move on. Speaking of moving on, our next segment is Pitch Me the Cons.
This is a segment.
Is this where we go into jails and we pitch baseballs to convicts?
That's what I was doing last weekend, but I didn't see you. Were you doing something else?
Yeah, I was doing Bowl Me the Cons, where we actually go get we build a big bowl, and we have, it's like make it like a hot tub out of this bowl, and a bunch of convicts sit in it.
Oh, that's, sounds like a fun get-to-know.
You thought it was where I was bowling, like on a bowling alley. Anyways, okay, that got off track. Pitch Me the Cons is our segment where we take a product that you've probably only seen in a good light presented in a keynote, maybe by Tim Cook, or who's your favorite presenter right now?
Tim Cook?
Yeah, Tim Cook. No, yeah, he's pretty much the only one who stands out. There's not anyone really memorable.
No, Craig Federighi.
There we go. See, I knew it was going to take you a second to remember his name. So we take their products or some product that has been, at one point announced and, in a flashy promo, and we pitch it, but in the opposite way. We give you the cons and try to convince you just how good or not good this product is. So you went first with the not sponsored. So is it okay if I go first with this?
Gabe, take the stage. Here's your microphone. Okay. Go wow the crowd with this amazing new product.
All right. The lights go down. And I walk out on stage. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you used to pay $20, $30, maybe even $50 for a headphone, right? And you would use that to work out a pair of headphones. They were nice. If they broke, you'd easily replace them. You could go through 3-4 headphones in a year, still not spend more than $150. We have a revolution in this space. We think you should be able to spend $150 or more on one pair of headphones. A gasp of crowd. Wow. There we go. Thank you. Now, actually, this might not seem very different from our headphones that we have currently. You would expect that for that price, you'd get some degree of repairability, some degree of, replacing a battery or replacing parts. No. If you break one little part of this or even think that it could be broken, you might as well throw that in the trash. Also, that traditional wire that used to connect your headphones together and make it so easy for them to easily, if you dropped them, they'd hang on to you, or if, you drop one fell out of your ear, you'd notice it and it wouldn't fall out actually. We actually decided to cut that cable so that one could easily go free, down the grate of a manhole cover, into your pocket and forgotten, and through the washer cycle. Yeah, these headphones are so free, you can easily lose several a year and have to buy new ones because one does not work as well as two. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so we get what it is. What other features does this offer to me? Well, these are also made out of an exclusive white plastic that was designed to show earwax as clearly as blood on snow. You will see this earwax from a mile away so that anyone around you can see if you have not kept these in the most pristine condition. And, why even bother cleaning them? Just throw them out, get a new one after a couple of months because you don't want to be seen in public with earwax covered headphones. Finally, this is a little bit of an Easter egg for down the road. A little gift for the future. Radiation from Bluetooth is not really known how bad this is going to be for you, but we decided, heck, we'll ramp this up. We're going to put these Bluetooth headphones, make them small so they go pretty deep into your ears where they're not going to have much of your head and skull in the way to block it from getting to your brain, getting to your vital organs in your head. Yeah, let's see what tumors and cancer we can develop for the future. That's the tomorrow we believe in. That's why we have dropped These are the new AirPod Pros. Well, okay, the AirPods, AirPods in general. AirPod Pros.
The Pros.
They weren't just the Pros, because I said 150 to 200 bucks.
Okay, so the AirPods, but the Pros, those go really deep into your ear canal.
Yeah, true. I guess that kind of probably threw you off. Yeah, those are. You want to buy those?
Honestly, they seem pretty great. There's a really funny video on YouTube. It's titled literally * Wears AirPod Pros once *.
I think I saw this video too.
Right?
Give it a watch.
They seem pretty great. I do have the same health concerns, so I will not be picking them up. And $250 is steep.
I literally titled my AirPods on my, you can change the name of a Bluetooth device. Mine are titled Ear Cancer.
Wow. To ear cancer.
Yeah, so I remember every time I put them in, okay, well, all right, I hope I'm doing something, I hope I'm working out, so at least the exercise is offsetting any potential health hazards that these are causing. So yeah, that was my Pitch Me the Cons. The crowd's dispersed. Now we have set out invites for a new keynote event. All right, they're coming back in. The theater's filling up. All right, Stetson, here we go.
Thank you.
Stetson, you're on in 3.
And I'm on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I have for you here today an exciting new product. Comes in multiple colors. We have various sizes and price points. A huge emphasis on the camera this year. And of course, as you'd expect, a gorgeous display. People have really enjoyed our messaging services, chatting with their friends over Wi-Fi or cellular data. We've been able to connect millions of people around the world. And we're excited to have an emphasis on video chat. Again, we're bringing an HD front-facing camera. This is one of the first times we're doing this. We're introducing new AR experiences. We've heard a lot of requests, people wanting to draw 3D mustaches, put on augmented masks, have tons of crazy background stuff going on while they're trying to talk and have conversations. And we've built in your favorite smart assistant. So this device, it comes in a beautiful frame, so it'll blend in with your surrounding environment. We have a camera that will track you as you move through the room, but the device is small, so you could talk from far away, but you don't want to see the person you're talking to. So you can stand far away, they'll be there, and you can have a really distant conversation. It's stylish and sleek. It looks absolutely incredible, except for that one that's really expensive. I don't know what the designer was thinking on that. I mean, I thought it looked gorgeous, but we got some very mixed feedback on it. And price point. So basically, again, this is a video chatting device, and it $279, which I thought was reasonable. Gabe, that's reasonable, right? Why is the audience booing right now? Oh my, guys, this is, calm down. So I think, and privacy was also a huge concern, so we took an extra step to make sure we collect all your data. I mean, you can now hardware disconnect the camera and the micro. I don't think you guys are liking this product that much. I was really hyped about this. Gabe, do you know what this is?
I do not think that I will be ordering a Facebook portal this year for Christmas.
Wow, good job. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I
thought you were actually going iPhone 11 first, because you said like multicolored and stuff. But then I think the big thing that switched, the big one that definitely signified this is definitely the Facebook portal for me was when you went our most expensive one. I don't know what the designer was thinking about that, because yeah, that is so true. How much is their most expensive one?
$279.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. What were they thinking about? I mean, nothing. They literally just threw a couple different like shapes together and some tech into it and just called it a day. Oh.
It does not look, I mean, looking at it, it seems like honestly a decent video chatting device. The problem is it's just so bad at literally everything else, and I don't think has an actual use beyond that. And everyone uses FaceTime or Google Duo or basically every other video chatting service.
That's right. You're locked into Facebook's video chat service, so you can't use other stuff.
Well, you can use WhatsApp and you can use Facebook Messenger.
But that's Facebook.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It does have Alexa built in, so it's kind of like
it's
an Alexa
basically.
speaker.
I think it's running like some form of like the same thing that the Amazon Echo shows are running.
Yeah, but I mean, for basically a Portal Mini is $130. And 130, 180, and then 280. I'd so much rather do something else with that money. So.
Yeah, and actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that this is the second time we've had this on Pitch Me the Cons, because I'm pretty sure I pitched it back in the spring. But
really,
either way, of all products out there, this is definitely deserving to be roasted twice on Pitch Me the Cons. And you had a different take than I had on it. So if people, look back through, listen to mine, listen to Stetson's, definitely worthwhile for this product. You could probably
who pitched it worse.
Yeah. Who pitched? I mean, just let's pitch it one more time and just together, and because it needs it.
It's
or
so
maybe
bad.
even the actual keynote of announcing this was worse, because honestly, you can't get much worse than just this product on paper.
Now that I think about it, maybe you did pitch this. I was thinking of this or doing the GoPro Karma.
Oh snap! Yeah, I can pitch that for you right off the top of my head, because that's falling out of the air right and left every single day,
So
flying
many
around
jokes.
like an angry, oversized bird, drifting with no sort of downward positioning whatsoever. Let's not. Yeah. So that was Pitch Me the Cons. Hopefully you found it somewhat entertaining. Suggest us some future ones you think we should pitch by, don't tweet it to our main podcast account. Tweet it to our individual personal accounts so that we can't see what the other person might pitch. You can find, I remember tweeting our tweets on the main account all the time, so check it out there. But moving on, this is our 25th episode, right, Stetson?
This is huge. This is our 25th time sitting down together in completely different rooms across the United States. Actually,
it's not our 25th
states.
time doing that, because we sat down in the same room for many of those.
Well, we're still sitting down. We're talking into microphones, talking tech. Yeah, it's been 25 episodes.
Wow, how time flies, and
It's
also
crazy.
and also how little we've learned.
I don't know. I think we've learned a decent amount. Also, props to us. We were aiming to do this bi-weekly starting at the beginning of the year, and that would mean 26 episodes because there's 52 weeks in a year. We had a little bit of a hiatus, Gabe, because of your ankle injury, but we came back strong. And then we had a pretty stellar Techtober that has kicked us back. We're basically going to surpass our goal, which is pretty cool. We're going to have over 26 episodes by the end of this year.
I didn't actually think about that. That's congratulations, little pat on the back to us. One thing I wanted to take a look at actually is I pulled up the analytics behind our episode just to see like a couple things we learned. One thing is most of the people are in the United States.
That's a big surprise to me.
I'd say
I was not
about
expecting.
99% of the people are in the United States. Of that, most of you are in California or New York or Massachusetts. Those are the three states. So that's good. The other thing I was going to say that's actually probably the most interesting is where people are listening to our podcast on as far as what service they're using.
Like what platform? Where are people listening?
What would you think if you had to guess? Top three platforms?
I would do Spotify, Apple Podcast. Is that what you mean? The platform?
Yes. Yep.
So I would do Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Top three. I mean, we really only post to a.
Well, you're not right on any of those.
Wow.
So
surprise
the top
me.
one, taking a whopping 34%, is Apple Podcasts.
Oh, okay. I should have done that one first. All right.
So that was for me. That was surprising. I thought, that would be more about the same as the other ones. Then coming in second, you have Spotify at 13.5%.
Had those flipped.
Yeah, and then third, the one you didn't have on there, Google Podcasts.
Whoa, wait, Google?
Yeah, wait, what?
What? Whoa.
Do a record scratch.
Google has a podcast? Is it an app?
I think it's integrated into music, right? Or I'm not really even sure.
Oh, maybe you're right. It's Google Play Music, and maybe it's just Google Podcasts, like baked right in or something.
Search right in, yeah. So that's third. Then this is just in the order behind that. You have Overcast, Chrome, iTunes, Pocket Cast, and CF Network. I've never even heard of that one. So yeah, that's an interesting thing to see. What is making up our what our listeners are listening on, and it makes me, as the person who's doing most of the social media stuff, know what links I should be including in stuff so that it's actually useful to people.
Sure. And I think as a huge appreciation to Gabe, I think you're doing all the social media stuff for this podcast. So thank you, Gabe. Everyone, round of applause for Gabe. Thank you. Crowd goes wild.
Wow, that was an incredible round of applause. I mean, I'm not doing too much for it, so let's not get overzealous. I think, I've been planning in the future, maybe like some future things. It's hard to really promote a podcast on social media. That's one thing I'm learning, because you're asking someone, hey, let's go listen to these two random dudes talk about technology for an hour of my time, potentially. But
it's an enthralling conversation every time.
It's not very enticing, especially if they tuned in for like our last episode or some of the other ones in the past where we get off track, or our both just not on topic that whole time. So the thing I've been doing recently is trying to focus on specific segments, putting timestamps in our episode description and on YouTube when I upload it there. And one thing I'm actually thinking of doing in the future is putting up like a story each week on Instagram or tweets out saying who we're not sponsored by, because I think that's a fun little thing we do. And then I can tag in either the person, the product, the manufacturer of who we're not sponsored by.
I think that's a great idea.
They might be like, what is even this thing? And then go listen, and boom, we got you. We got you in our net. We caught you. And then hopefully you'll actually keep listening.
It reminds me of the Joe Rogan Experience, where they take segments of the podcast and actually upload it to YouTube. And that also is something I've learned. Like, YouTube is basically a catch-all platform, if you think about it, right? Like, we have Vines basically being archived on YouTube. We have people who are streamers, streaming video games. And whether they're on Twitch or Microsoft's new streaming platform, they're taking their segments and putting them on YouTube. And even for us, podcasts, we're posting all of our podcasts, uploading them to YouTube, and it's kind of serving as an archive, because that's a cool way where audience members can comment on episodes and kind of start a conversation, which I think, in my opinion, is something podcasts are missing. We can record a podcast and share it, but there's no way for people to comment on it or really interact with it or engage with the medium. It's just like a one-way street. We talk, you listen, and that's it.
That's actually really true. I hadn't thought of that before, and it's kind of, I think, why maybe podcasts are hard to market, and because they don't really drum up any engagement or stuff within themselves. They're more like, oh, I have a bunch of followers, let me push them out to this podcast so I can get Blue Apron to sponsor me and, make some of that money, or MeUndies or whoever, and do some extra revenue. Yeah, I've had fun just creating it. Even if we never get sponsored, which we're not going to, because we have to keep doing that not sponsored segment, it's just a fun thing for me personally. I found learning more, because I've been doing most of the audio editing, learning more of that and how to, like, all right, we got to record a better episode, both for on the audio front. All right, how do we do that? Let's go hang up a bunch of coats around everywhere, or make sure that our mics are at the right levels. Let's make sure that for example, we have enough batteries in our audio recorder. That is
a stab at me. We had started recording this podcast, and my Zoom H5 was not plugged in. It ran out of battery, and my audio was abruptly brought to a halt, so we had to start over. So that is definitely something I learned as recently as today.
What would you say is the thing you think we can work on going forward? Like, if we got to do, like, we're getting in the huddle or in the locker room, and we're saying, all right, guys, that was a good first half out there. Well, this is not to say that we're only doing 50 episodes and this is our first half, but that was a good first, fraction of how many we're going to do. This is what we got to improve going forward. What would you say?
I think for me, a lot of the improvements, I think the structure of the podcast would be one of them. I really like this episode. We focused on having more segments, clear cut, possibly outlining what we're going to talk about in the order we're going to talk about it, and then going forward with that. I think enunciating and word choice, avoiding words like yeah, like absolutely, immediately agreeing with the other person. It's really challenging having a podcast-friendly conversation where each person is contributing content that is interesting to listen to, because sometimes you just end up saying these filler words and agreeing with the other person. You don't know where the conversation is going. So you have to be on your toes, ready to adapt, and try and be selective with your word choice so it's not repetitive. I think that's probably one of the biggest
At the same
challenges.
time, you also have to, you're doing like the radio thing and having, popcorn. They talk about popcorn filler, so you basically don't want dead air ever, because who wants to just listen to a podcast of silence? Actually, it's not a bad idea. Maybe we should
try that
podcast silence. No, I think there actually are probably already podcasts out there that are just silence. We're not going to go invade on their space. So I definitely think that I shouldn't use the word definitely as much as you're talking about filler words. And yeah, working on enunciating a little clearer and possibly not just rambling on like this as I try to think of something that I want to say.
That means it's my turn to come in and say something, right? If you're rambling. I think the other big thing, we're on FaceTime right now. I think it's challenging to know when the other person is going to start talking when you're on FaceTime. I
totally wouldn't think, sorry.
Yeah, I think I've actually talked over you a few times in this episode. I know I've definitely done it in other episodes. Sometimes it's challenging just to read the other person and when they're going to come in, what they're going to say, when I should come in and interject. And I think the other thing too is like trying to actively listen to what the other person is saying. I guess in that case, it's you, Gabe. Listen to what Gabe is saying.
Thank you for naming me.
And also trying to think of what I'm going to say next and where the conversation is going. Because there were some episodes I was just re-listening to where you had pretty clearly said, there's like 4 things I want to talk about with Pixel 4. And after you had said the third thing, I tried to segue off into another topic. And you're like, wait, before we do that. And I'm like, why is Gabe bringing us back in? And then I re-listened to the podcast.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that it's kind of funny. That should be an ongoing joke we continue. Is I mentioned there's like 5 things about this that I want to talk about, and then you cut me off by the third and say, all right, well, now moving on to the next thing. And I'm like, hold on one second.
No,
I strapped us in for 5. We're gonna go all the way to the end of that.
No, I think I forgot that you had said that, or I was so focused on what I was going to say next or something, I missed it. So I'm working on that, improving my active listening skills. My enunciating, I'm curious to hear myself say or try to say LG. We're going to see how that goes. But yeah, Gabe, what do you feel like you're working on while we're recording this podcast? Or maybe what are you trying to improve while you're editing? Because you do a lot of the editing as well.
Well, on the editing front, I think the biggest thing I want to work on is, one thing I've had to deal with an issue is with FaceTime. There's a bit of latency actually sometimes that can develop and kind of, as the network connection is faster or slower throughout our episode as we're recording, sometimes I'm right on the end of what Stetson's saying, and other times I might be, he might finish talking and it's like, feels like Gabe, you're like, Gabe, did you just have a stroke or something? Why aren't you talking? And then I start talking. And in reality, I thought I was responding right after you, or vice versa for you. So that's kind of the hardest challenge right now for me, is, trying to line those up and see, oh, wait, hold on. I need to actually, nudge your audio up by, a couple milliseconds to make it seem more right. The bonus of filming over FaceTime, the good thing actually, is that we don't have to deal with picking up echo on the other person's mic, because, we're 100, 200 miles apart. I don't think mics are quite that good yet. At least we don't have our gain turned up high enough to hear each other. So that's the nice thing I've been having. On the other front of like planning and stuff, I think something that, taking a little behind the scenes look for people, for each episode, we basically create a document and, title it kind of what we're loosely going to focus on. And then we basically outline the general flow of the podcast. At least that's how it works on our more organized episodes. On our ones where we're all over the place, we probably didn't do much planning. So on our more organized episodes, that's what we do. However, we also kind of have this habit of, and it might be good, it might be bad, I don't know, Stetson, give me your take on it in a second, of we each create our own document, then filling in that outline. And our intention was, okay, this is more like a conversation because we don't know what the other person's going to say. But then, as you were mentioning earlier, it also leads to, I go, all right, here's the 4 points we need to talk about this camera or the Pixel 4, and you don't know I'm going into that, and you're, dropping me out and kicking me out of the next segment or topic by 3.
I think it has definitely led to more conversational episodes, and hopefully that is interesting to listen to. I do think where we outline the topics is basically the quick news. That seems to be a little bit more structured. I don't know. It's definitely interesting because we don't know what the other person's going to say. It's more unexpected. Hopefully it has a more natural flow. But perhaps we could try outlining everything or who is going to focus on what, because there have been a couple instances where I prompt you to talk about a subject as you're about to prompt me to talk about it. And then it's like, okay, who is going to cover this? Who's going to talk about the next item? And, I think with this, we kind of ping pong back and forth pretty quickly, but sometimes it can make a better listening experience if one person knows they have the air and then the next person can come in and talk about something else and just do potentially deeper dives into that.
That is something I see in a different way. I see it actually when I'm editing the audio is interesting. I can provide this perspective of I can see some episodes, there's a good back and forth of you can see audio peaking or audio whatever, the waveform from you, audio waveform from me. And then there's other ones where, it'll be just, all right, there's about 5 minutes of me talking. And then, there's Stetson talks for 2 seconds. And then I'm like, okay, next episode, mental note, I need to talk less. So that's kind of, for me, it's literally a visualization of, how much back and forth and how good we're doing of keeping it conversational, but hopefully we can also, while it's conversational, it can also be informational as well.
True. And Gabe, I would say I almost appreciate hearing your voice more than mine, because I'm sure this is probably similar for you. When I'm making YouTube videos, I am listening to myself on repeat as I'm editing through the audio.
Oh, yeah, know that for sure.
And so having someone else's voice besides my own is fun to listen to. And I guess, all right.
The thing is, I always am like, Stetson says, is he probably going to phrase this better, say it clearer, so I'm just like, why am I even on this podcast half the time? I'm just pushing the ball back into your court. That's for me personally, and maybe everyone feels like that because it's a voice outside their head, someone else talking, and maybe not. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. You're going to say it better, so please.
I try and explain things clearly. Being a communication management and design major, communication was definitely a focus and giving presentations. But I really appreciate your entertainment and the tangents you go on. Honestly, I listen to our podcast and I find myself cracking up in the car. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I don't know how the audience feels about it, but as someone recording the podcast, it's fun going back and re-listening to segments and hearing what we each had to say and knowing what was going on in the behind the scenes or something like that. So it's definitely fun.
And that's kind of like, what is our podcast really? Because, there's B&H has a podcast out there that's basically, just them talking new tech and stuff. And so it's like, are we just that? Or, are we something else? Are we like a comedy podcast, which is, dime a dozen out there as well? It's really, it's like hard to find your own identity in a podcast. And I think if we keep going on making episodes, it will be interesting to go back to these first, 25 episodes, because this is really where we might come up with, for example, the not sponsored segment. I really love that. I think it was a genius idea. I think I came up with it, so I probably shouldn't be doing too much praise of it. But I think stuff like that will be interesting to hear, the origin, how it progressed, how we changed it, and maybe stuff that we, thought, okay, yeah, that was good to try, but that didn't work, in practice on an episode, wasn't very entertaining, or just wasn't fun for us to do.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I can't wait to see how this evolves. I almost feel like we should have a business plan or something for this going forward to like get it more planned and structured, but it's been absolutely fun. Gabe, what advice, when we first started this, I think in the first episode you had mentioned everyone and their grandmother is starting a podcast, and we're 25 years late.
Speaking of that, I would like to say that me and my grandmother are starting a podcast. It's called Gabe and Grandma. You can listen to it now everywhere our podcasts are sold, which is nowhere because they're all free. Yeah, what were you saying?
Anyways, congratulations on the new podcast. I can't wait to listen.
Thank you.
I'm sure it'll be a hit with the audience. You probably already have people signing up for your email list and blowing up, going viral on social media.
Yep, already got sponsors here.
Wow. Oh, okay. Hey, whoa, wait a minute. Anyway, what I was going to say is, for you and your grandma or anyone else and their grandma, what do you think they should know getting started with podcasts? What tips do you have for people getting into the podcast world and creating their own content?
Maybe. No, I think podcasting is great, but like a lot of different mediums that, have blown up, YouTube is one, obviously. We saw a huge surge after, kind of the 2013 era, another surge after 2016 with vloggers. So Instagram now is the same thing. So many photos shared there. It's easy for a medium and, a sharing network or platform to get overrun. So that's one reason why you might avoid going into it. However, if you're really doing it for the fun, for the arts, or you think you have a nice idea that's unique, as long as you got free time, we're going to talk anyways, most likely about technology. I think that's how we basically started this podcast, is we realized, hey, we're talking about this stuff each week. Other people, could learn some stuff by listening to it possibly. So why don't we record it? And I can work on my audio editing skills. You can work on your presentation skills. It's a win-win. So that's what I would say. Find something that you actually like to do, or that is sustainable if you want to create a podcast, because don't expect overnight you're going to be getting thousands of listeners, even if maybe that's not your goal. Maybe your goal is to just create a weekly family update. I know there's people who have done stuff like this, created podcasts that are just talking about what's happening in the family, and then they send it out to all their family members and stuff.
I think Gabe brings up a good point actually with that family. People consume content for different reasons. I think the primary two are, one, it's informative, or two, it's entertaining. And I think podcasting presents a really unique opportunity to be entertaining. This is where some podcasts like the Joe Rogan Experience, and I listen to the Tim Ferriss Show, where I guess Tim Ferriss is more interesting and factual, but other podcasts, they tell stories that I think the Moth Radio Hour, that's
Serial, stuff like that.
They communicate stories in an audio format, which is one of the best ways to listen to a story. It lets your imagination run wild. You can do it while driving, and people are looking for entertainment. So if you can provide that, I think that's a great way to stand out. To Gabe's point, I personally feel podcast discovery is one of the most challenging things right now. There's currently no central website or real central platform to, I think, discover or get recommended podcasts. There's no, as I mentioned previously in this episode, way to interact with an audience and build an audience. I think it's challenging to grow a podcast. I'd almost suggest putting it on YouTube or focusing on another platform first. I mean, Gabe, what's your take?
You actually bring up, putting it on YouTube, and if you just focused on that, you could create something that's a bit more, geared for YouTube, which would be, instead of doing an hour and a half long episode that rambles on to 20 different topics, break it up like a lot of podcasts do when they upload highlights. The H3 podcast, I could go, many different entertainment podcasts who cover news. They'll upload highlights of, all right, this is when we talked about, the Canon EOS Ra. This is when we talked about the new Tesla truck. And that does better in search because someone will pull up just that thing. Oh, they look for that information. Then they see, oh, this person's also kind of entertaining as well. Maybe I'll check out the whole podcast. I know that's personally how I actually got into Joe Rogan's podcast. I'd for a while been like, I don't want, it's the top podcast. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to listen to it, whatever. Everyone's listening to it. And then I think there was a celebrity or, some figure I liked who was on it. And I watched the highlights online. And then I was like, actually, this is, kind of he definitely, there's a reason he's so popular. Let me check out some of the full episodes. I still don't listen to it that regularly, but, that's a good way to get people in is by possibly going off the platform and, bringing people in through specific informational searches.
I think that's how I've discovered all my podcasts. It's been people having other channels like Matt D'Avella. He was the filmer behind the movie The Minimalist, which or Minimalism.
Okay, yeah.
One of the it's on Netflix. I found him. He has a YouTube channel, and he also has a podcast called The Ground Up Show. So I found that. I found the Joe Rogan Experience on YouTube. So I think I've discovered a lot of podcasts through YouTube, through other podcasts mentioning other podcasts, and then, through basically creators having some other channel that reaches a larger audience and then mentioning, hey, I have this podcast or friend recommendation. So I think it's challenging. You can't really, when you place a search, people will also you'll search for something on Google and you'll get blog results. You'll never get audio snippet results. You'll never get podcast results. So it's easier to get discovered on Google with search or YouTube with search because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. But it's harder to get discovered as a podcast.
Do you think that, the podcast format or that whole thing needs to incorporate like tags or something? Like, is there some way, is there need to be a new social network that pops up that's just centered around like people recommending podcasts, and when a podcast that you recommend to someone they like, then you get like an extra point and you get bumped up and you get more status? Or
I think this is actually a great business idea. If someone can make the YouTube of the podcast world, that's golden. Where maybe podcasts are automatically transcribed by AI. I feel like we could do that, or we should be able to do something like that, or get accurate enough where you can tell what the content of the podcast is about. You can use that text transcription to power search, where if you have certain keywords pulled up in the podcast body, that would help that podcast rank for different search queries. And I think just build a platform that allows audiences to interact with the podcast, make comments at certain points in the podcast, and have discussions. I don't know. I'd be into it. But do you think that's a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Is this the next golden business opportunity?
I mean, it's really hard to tell what will come in the future from the current podcast landscape and just the technology, because podcasts are not platform specific or like, brand specific, as in you can listen to them on Apple, Spotify, right? Google Podcasts. It's just based off that, RTSP feed. I don't know, whatever the feed is.
What is that? RCS?
No, it's not that. You're thinking of, that's the texting thing.
Oh,
anyways, it's basically, based off that, you give the link to your podcast page where the files are all stored, and, Apple will go and grab them. Spotify will link to it and just present it in a good format. That would be kind of weird for a platform to develop that was actually hosting that. I don't even know what it doesn't really work in the podcast segment. So who knows what the future will hold. But yeah, here's the 25 episodes. Hopefully after 50, after 100, if we're still doing this, we're 4 times, 5 times, 1,000 times wiser about podcasts, and we'll have some more insight to offer potentially, or we'll actually be getting worse. And this is where we peaked, and we'll look back and say, wow, if only we could top that 25 episode.
Do you actually have a favorite episode? Do you have one that's been either the most fun
every
to
day?
record?
I listen to episode number 7. No, I don't really. I mean, the most fun to record are usually the ones where we were in the same room, just because we can, have the energy. But I've had a lot of times where like they've just been fun either way, just because we're talking about technology, which is what we both love, and I'm trying to come up with ways to make it not just a droning on and on about specs and news and stuff like that.
Sure. I think the first episode has a special place in my heart. Something about that. The audio was crisp. We had just opened these new Rode microphones. The setup was a total hack in your studio with jackets hanging up. I don't know. I like that one.
And you were peeking all over the place because you were laughing so loud. Right into the microphone. Yeah, I remember that. That was great. Love that.
I will say recording audio and listening to myself talk has helped, I think, improve my acoustic performance, hopefully for podcasting and definitely for my YouTube channel. I'm more conscientious of it, and I think it's helped me be more aware of my word choice, even if I haven't had the strength to change it quite yet.
Yeah, we have, like we said in the beginning of the episode, we weren't supposed to say certain words. I just broke one of them because I said yeah and instantly agreed with you. So we're working, tweet at us at Pinch to Zoom Pod all the words we need to not say as much. It will be hurtful and it's going to be a long struggle, but we appreciate it. We know that you love it, that you love us, that you're listening to the episode actually, and care. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. We're getting a little long, getting over an hour. So
that's another thing. We should get a timer going. I need to get a timer going. I have no
timer.
I have no sense of time when we record these things.
How do you have no sense of time? You literally have your Zoom recorder sitting right next to you that you can look at, right?
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Yeah.
I'm hoping you were recording and that the numbers are going up, or else we just made a huge mistake already on our 25th episode.
I think back to cutting you off, I think it's because your audio is so low, I can't hear when you're talking.
What were you saying? Hold on. I can't know. Yeah. Yeah, we do have to turn our audio down when we're recording over FaceTime in our headphones in our ears so that it's not leaking into the mics. So that's a possibility, but
we're working on it.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we can only get better from here. However, we can get worse. That's a possibility too. Subscribe to see what happens. It's like a choose your own adventure. What will we do? And also, we would appreciate recommending us to one of your friends, because like we said, podcast platforms are not the most into like sharing and discovery. The best way is to share it with a friend. So share with a friend, or even, like I said before, sometimes with an enemy.
We're relying on you to help spread the word, so thank you.
Yep. But that's it for this episode 25. Woo, here we go. It was your 22nd birthday last week.
22nd, yeah. It was. Yeah, wow. Thank you.
It's the big time of the year.
It is.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Like I said earlier, Pinch to Zoom Pod, Pinch to Zoom Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, but no one's on that. And also Friendster. And you can follow us on Google Maps. Also, you can check us out on Snapchat, possibly exclusive Snapchat.
Okay,
we also have Tumblr. I was hoping for you to cut me off. You really didn't take that signal well.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Stetson.
I'm Gabe.
And we're going to talk to you in the next episode 26.
I started searching as we were talking about that. I started searching in Apple Podcasts, Grandma and there's Drew and Drew's Grandma. Literally, there's a podcast. One already has out.
Well, I mean, you said it once, and you'll say it again. Everyone and their grandmother is starting a podcast. So
I need a new thing now. It's like everyone and their guinea pig is starting a podcast now.